Hey everyone, this is Michael, aka Epsilon Minus on MTGO, and this is the deck that I will be playing for CQ Season 2 Qualifier Tournament number 2. It is a Noble Fish deck with Green Sun Zenith that you might recognize from an earlier DE or two that I've played. Uh, I made a couple of tweaks and I am probably once again going to go a little bit more in depth for this one since it is for a QT as opposed to a DE. So if you don't like long-winded deck texts, you might want to go back to my earlier one and just go look at that. But anyway, I'm going to start with the mana base. I've got 6 fetches, 4 Misties, and 2 Flooded Strands. My mana base is of duals is 3 Tundras, 3 Chops, and an Underground Sea, which I will chiefly fetch out to use Deathrite Shaman's third ability. I have a basic forest, and I'm running Dryad Arbor, which can both be fetched up with Knight of the Reliquary if necessary, or searched out with Green Sun Zenith on 0, which is usually how I'm going to be fetching it out. And then I also have 4 Wastelands and Strip Mine, plus Maze of Ith and Caracas in conjunction with Knight of the Reliquary, which is useful against Oath and Tinker. You will use Maze of Ith to stop a Blightsteel Colossus from connecting, and Caracas can be used to return Emrakul and Gristlebrand to an opponent's hand. For my spells, I'm running 4 Brainstorm. No explanation needed there. Basically, every blue-based deck probably runs 4 of them. And I'm running 3 Path to Exiles to deal with Blightsteel, obviously, as well as other creatures. Mainly running Path to Exile because of the lack of non-basics in the format, especially the 2 Public Enemy, number 1 and 2, Affinity and Dredge. And sometimes the life can be an issue with this deck, not giving them life. And this deck's not really a mana denial based deck, so giving a basic land doesn't hurt as much as it would if you were running some type of deck running like Talia and stuff like that. And then my counter package, I'm running 4 Dazes, and I'm running 4 Force of Wills. Force of Wills pretty explanatory. Daze, sometimes I like it, sometimes I don't. It does get worse later in the game and on the draw. That being said, I think I like it a little bit better than Misstep, even though I miss Misstep sometimes, just because it has a little bit more flexibility. And I also think it has a little bit more flexibility than Spell Pierce, just because it can target anything, so it's a little bit better in the creature matchups. And I think part of the value of it is the fact that since our deck lists are public, the fact that they know I have it in my deck means that they have to play around it and assume that I might have it in my hand. So that's why I ultimately decided to keep those in. And then my last spell is Green Sun Zenith, which is obviously can tutor up any creature in my deck. So for my creature base, I have 4 Noble Hierarchs for mana ramp and exalted triggers, as well as 2 Deathrite Shamans, which can mana ramp, serve as Dredge Hate in game 1, even though Dredge usually manages to power through that anyway, and can close out a game with its third ability. Can also be fetched up with Green Sun Zenith. Then I have Tarmogoyf and Scavenging Ooze as Green Sun Zenith targets. Basically just there to close out a game. Ooze can also be used as Graveyard Hate. I have 4 Kasali Pride Mages against Shops and Oath of Druids, as well as Exalted Triggers. Actually, I said Green Sun Zenith can fetch anything. This is the one creature I can't fetch, Meddling Mage, which is particularly good in Classic League since you can see your opponent's deck list, which helps you in naming the best card possible. And then for 3 drops, we've got 2 Trigon Predators for the Shop and Oath matchup. And we've got 2 Green Sun Zenith. We've got Knight of the Reliquary, which can be a big beater, and it can also fetch up Maze of Ith or Caracas against Oath, as well as Wasteland and Strip Mine to help close an opponent out with mana denial. And then I have Edric, Spymaster of Trest. He's a legendary creature. Whenever a creature deals combat damage to one of your opponents, its controller may draw a card. So he's kind of nice in the mid to late game. If you've got a couple dudes out, you can Green Sun Zenith for this guy and close out a game by drawing a bunch of cards. Finally, our sideboard. I made a few tweaks. This is where kind of the main place where I fiddled with the deck. I felt like it wasn't quite good enough against Dredge. So one thing that I did, which I did in my Stoneforge Jace Vault deck that I tried out, and I kind of adopted, I play Death and Taxes when I play Legacy Online, and one thing I like about it is the Enlightened Tutor package makes it really easy to get Rest in Peace. I think I've lost like one match in my life against Legacy Dredge. And Vintage Dredge is obviously more resilient because of the Bazaar, but one of the reasons why I didn't lose to Legacy Dredge is because the flexibility of Enlightened Tutor to grab a Rest in Peace. So basically, I am running the 2 Enlightened Tutors, which can fetch up Cage, Rest in Peace, Serenity, or Flux. And I took out a Cage and a Flux to fit those 2 in. Grafdir's Cage obviously will come in against Oath of Druids and Dredge. Rest in Peace will come in against Dredge. I have 2 Serenities, 2 Katakis, and Energy Flux is my shop/affinity hate, as well as an extra Trigon. The Trigon can be fetched up with Green Sun Zenith, and the Flux and Serenities can be fetched up with Enlightened Tutor. And then finally, against the blue decks, I will generally switch out Edric for Cold-Eyed Selkie, since Selkie has Island Walk, and with the Exalted triggers from Noble Hierarch and Kasala, you can generally draw quite a few cards if you manage to connect with them. So basically, that's my deck. I kind of decided to go with this over. I was originally thinking about 3 separate decks. I was thinking about this one, a humans-based deck, which I played earlier, and the Stoneforge Jace Vault deck that I played earlier. And I ultimately decided on this one. I think it suits my playstyle best, and it does have the flexibility of having some counter magic, as well as the tutors in Green Sun Zenith and Enlightened Tutor to just kind of give me enough flexibility to beat some of the more quote-unquote unfair decks in the format, such as Oath, Dredge, Affinity. And so I feel pretty confident in this deck. I think it's got a lot of game against the field, and we'll see how it ends up. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the matches.